All. So we will start. I think more than 50% are there. So we will just continue with yesterday's class. Yesterday we saw about the anatomical aspects of pelvis, pelvic floor, breast and abdominal muscle. Okay, so after this session, maybe next week, I will try to send you quiz kind of things, or like you can just tell me how you want to do, whether you want to have a discussion kind of class for the anatomy and physiology or a quiz. So okay, you can decide and you can put it in the group so that we will have one, because I'm not going in depth of any of the anatomy and physiology. So I just think or assume that you you have already went through that. Okay, so that's why I'm not going in deeper. 1 minute. Hello. Good morning, ma'am. நல்லா இருக்கேன் ma'am. Listening, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Okay, okay, no problem, ma'am. Yes. They are there in the campus only. Last week, I think last 12th they came in. So most probably by tomorrow they will end their quarantine. Okay. Oh, individually. Okay. Okay, no, no issues, because next week, I think Tuesday, I have a class with them. So I can take and I'll give them personally. Okay. Okay, okay, okay. Sure, sure. Okay, thank you. Thank you, ma'am. So, like in the group, you can just let me know whether we want to have a discussion or whether we want to have any quiz kind of thing for this anatomy and physiology. Okay. And another thing is, I'll not be able to take in depth with pictures and other thing regarding this particular system. So that's why I request you to go through your older slides and books and improve your knowledge. Okay. So today we will see about the respiratory tract. So respiratory tract consists of respiratory tract consists of uh, from like it consists of the following parts, like in uterus you have uterus, fallopian tubes and ovaries, then cervix. So all these four parts together is called as uterus. Then you have something called vagina. Then you will be having uh, okay, sorry, then you will have the vagina. That means like this is the vaginal opening. Then this will be extending around 7 to 10 centimeters, and this is your cervix. Then this is your uterus. This uterus is attached to two fallopian tubes, and you will be having two ovaries. Okay, so all these parts are together called as reproductive tract. So so ovaries are like a round structure. It will be hanging, or it will be attached to the uterus, and it will be hanging in the side like two wings. Okay, so it will be round in structure, and this ovaries will be producing the ova, and this ova will be undergoing a continuous maturation process, and it will be called as eggs. Okay, then once the eggs are ripened, Then because of the hormonal influence, the ripened egg will be secreted out. And that ripened egg is called as ovum, and that will be secreted out. And when it is secreted out, this fallopian tube will be having a fimbrioles, or the fallopian, at the end of the fallopian tube there will be a finger like structure which will be holding down to the ova. So you can see here, this is the ovaries. Okay, so inside ovaries you will be having n number of follicles. Okay, so all these follicles will not undergo maturation at one time. Okay, so you will have n number of follicles. Under the influence of the hormone, some amount of follicles will undergo maturation. So in that some amount of follicles under which is undergoing maturation also, few will undergo complete maturation, and every month only one will undergo the full maturation most of the time. Sometimes two or three will undergo maturation. So once it is undergoing maturation, this will be just spilt out. So when it is spilt out, this is the fallopian tube, and this is the fimbrioles, like finger like structure. This fallopian tubes will hold the ovum or eggs, and the eggs will be moving into the fallopian tube, and it will reach the uterus. Okay, so every month once the female attains the maturation, or you can call it as puberty, this uterus will undergo continuous changes for 28 to 30 days, or it is like a cyclic changes. So day one, some of the hormone will be secreted, and that hormone will be stimulating the ovaries to uh, uh, stimulating the follicles to undergo maturation, and slowly the maturation will happen. And around 14th day or 16th day, the egg will undergo the complete maturation, and the egg will be spilt out. So once it is spilt out, the fimbrioles will be holding it, and the egg will be moving inside. And when it is moving inside here in the fallopian tube, this is the fallopian tube. When it is moving inside the fallopian tube, it will just wait for any sperm. So the sperm will be ejaculated in the vagina, and from the vagina, the sperm will be just moving through the cervix, and through the uterus, it will be moving to the fallopian tube. So once it is moving to the fallopian tube, at the end of the fallopian tube, it can meet an egg. In case if it is meeting an egg and there is ovulation, then you will be like, then there will be formation of the zygote. If it is not meeting any sperm, then the egg will just come to the uterus, then it will just get disintegrate in the uterus. Okay, so this is what it normally happens every month inside a women's uterus. And this happening in a cyclic form by the influence of the hormones. So we will see that influence of the hormone in the next class. So every time both the both the ovaries will not work together. So for example, it will be working alternatively. In one month, if the right is working, then the next month the left will be working. Like that, it will be undergoing alternative works. Okay, so this is about the ovaries. So if you just cut open this ovaries, it will be looking like this. So these are the follicles in different stages. So if you open the ovaries, or if you do a ultrasound over the ovaries, you can see lot of follicles in different maturating stage. Okay, some will be in a pre-morbid state, some will be in a fully matured state, some will be in a disintegrating stage, like that. So this is about the ovaries. Then next is the fallopian tube. So the fallopian tube is also attached over the upper part of the uterus, and it is like both hands, it will be attached. And at the end of one end of the fallopian tube is called as ampulla. The other end of fallopian tube is called as fimbrioles. Okay, so all that is there in the slides, but since I just want to explain with the picture, I'm explaining in this single slide. Okay, so one end is called as ampulla. So this end is called as ampulla, and this end is called as the fimbrioles. Okay, so the main function of this is, it is just a tubular structure, and the main function of this is to it's a like passage for the egg and the sperm. Is that clear? The next is the uterus. So uterus has three parts: the upper, then the body of uterus, then the cervix. Okay, so the upper part, or you can say head of the uterus, then you have the body of uterus, then you have the cervix. So it's like a dome like structure, or you can say if you make a fist of your hand, the uterus will be only of that much smaller size. So only during pregnancy it will undergo elongation or enlargement. But normally this will be like smaller than your fist of your hand. Okay. Then this uterus will be in an anti-verted position. So anti-verted position means forwardly tilted position. Like the vagina will be there and it will be inserted into the cervix. The cervix will be also like a tubular structure but little bigger than the vagina. Then the complete body of the uterus will be lying on the cervix. That is called anti-verted position. Okay, and this uterus is made up of three different layer of muscle: myometrium, perimetrium, myometrium, and endometrium. So in this, if you see the outermost, or you can see the outermost one means from inside I'm talking. Okay, so this one is called as endometrial layer. So this endometrial layer of the uterus will undergo changes every month. That means it will be a thin structure, then slowly it will become thick, 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 and it will be like becoming like a spongy bed. Okay, so spongy bed, so that if there is any zygote formation, then it will come and get imprinted in the spongy bed. If there is no zygote formation, then automatically the egg will come inside the uterus, and because of the hormonal changes, the uterus will know about it and it will be shredding out all the endometrial layer. So that shredding out of all the endometrial layer is called your menstrual cycle, whichever is coming out. Okay, so from the outermost will be your perimetrium and myometrium. This one is myometrium. Then the thinner one is your endometrial layer. Okay, so only the endometrial layer will undergo changes. And this is the cervix. It is like a funnel kind of appearance, which will be closed throughout the time. Only during the delivery time it will be opening, or only during the menstrual time it will be opening. Remaining all the time it will be just closed. So the whole of the reproductive organs are influenced by the hormones, especially the female hormones. That the female hormones will undergo a cyclic change. Okay, so when one of the hormone is increasing, the other will be suppressing. So when the other is increasing, the first one will suppress, like that. So it has a automatic clock, and the clock will just run for 28 to 30 days. Okay. So this is a rough, like a brief idea about your peripheral, reproductive system. This is another picture you can see here. These are the follicles in different stage. So once it is undergoing full maturation, it will be like this. Then the ova alone will be spilt out, and the remaining will undergo disintegration. Okay, so this all disintegrated follicle. And another important information is like from the birth of a female girl, the follicles will be present inside. Okay, and maybe maximum at the birth, the girl will be having around 2 million follicles. Okay, 2 million. So 2 million follicles will be present at the birth of the girl. Then afterwards, at the age of 7, some amount will be wasted. So slowly, every month, some amount will be wasted. And at the time of maturation, or at the time of the reproductive age, the female will be having only 300,000 follicles. So that's why if you compare the male and female, females will have a limited reproductive age, but males will be able to become a father or like produce a sperm throughout their life. So they will have a lifelong cycle, but females will have a limited cycle. So it will start from the puberty, then it will end at the monarchy. Okay, so that is a limited reproductive age of a female, maybe roughly from 15 years to 45 to 50 years. So this is another clear picture. This is how the fibrioles will look like. This is the head of the uterus, or it is also called as fundus. Okay, so this upper part is called as head. It is also called as fundus. This is the body of the uterus. Then the narrow part is called as isthmus, then the cervix. So if you see the cavity, the uterine cavity will be very small. So this much is the uterine cavity. So once the baby comes in, like once the baby comes into the uterus, once it is getting embedded, then slowly the space will keep on increasing. Okay. So these are the three layers of the muscle: outer muscle, middle muscle, then the white one is the endometrial inner muscle. Then this is the cervix. So cervix is like a funnel kind of tube. So this has an internal orifice, cervical canal, then external orifice. Okay, so the internal orifice will be closed at all the time. Okay, sometimes external orifice will be opening, hardly like whenever there is like during sexual activity, during menstrual cycle, this external orifice will open and it will ooze out the unwanted things. Then this is the attachment of the vagina. This vagina will be opening up at the vaginal opening in the external genitalia. This is another view of the uterus. This is the cervix. Okay, this is the vagina. When you are viewing through the vagina, the cervix will be like this. It will be having a small opening only. Next, about the circulation, and the complete uterus will be hanging by or attached to the broad ligament, and the broad ligament is the one which will be holding the complete uterus throughout. Then this uterus will be richly supplied by the richly supplied uh, by the arteries and the nerves, because like you need a good blood supply for the baby. So that's why it has a very high vascular nature. That's why most of the time this uterus will look like a will be in a pinkish color, because of this because of the highly vascular nature. Okay, so it is supplied by the left and right internal iliac arteries. Then the venous is by your internal iliac, that will be passing through the inferior vena cava. Then this will be passing to the heart. Then the nerve supply is by the pelvic plexus. The sensation from the perineum is by the prudental nerve. So this prudental nerve is also supplying your pelvic floor muscle. That's why if there is any damage to the prudental nerve, it also affects your uterus. Okay. So any doubts so far?
No, miss.
Okay, so next we will see like urinary system, just a brief one. Since this is closely related to the uterus, we are seeing that. And whenever there is any problem with the uterus, this bladder also will be compressed. Okay, so if you see here, the anterior part is the urinary bladder. The posterior is, this one is the uterus, and behind will be the rectum. So this, whenever the uterus is becoming bigger because of any abnormal problem or because of pregnancy, that will be compressing the urinary bladder. Okay, so this urinary system consists of kidney, uh, ureter, urinary bladder, then the urethra. Okay, so it has four parts. So no, normally we have a pair of kidneys which is present at either side at the end of the abdomen area. Then the work of the kidney is to it will be having lot of nephrons inside, and it will be filtering the blood, and it will be excreting the unwanted fluids, and the normal one will go to the heart. The unwanted one will be collected, and through the urethra it will be stored in the urinary bladder. So through the urethra it will be like a dripping, like single drops will be dripping through the urethra, and it will be stored in the bladder. So the bladder is like a balloon like structure. So when there is no urine, it will be very small. As the urine is getting filled, it will become bigger. So once it is becoming bigger enough, it will stretch the nerve, and it will that will information will pass through the spinal cord, and the spinal cord will give a response to empty the bladder. So once it gets the response, then the pelvic floor muscle will become loosened, and it will open the urethra to allow the flow of the urine. So this is what normally will happen. So in detail of this uh, urinary flow and the nervous control, everything we will be learning under the chapter in incontinence. Okay, so this part we will learn again. So this, like urethra, if you see the kidney, the ureter, the bladder, everything will be same for both men and women. Okay, only the urethra will be little different for female compared to male. So for male, the urethra will be ending up as the penis. For the female, it will be ending up as a urethra. Okay, so it is like a fibromuscular tube, approximately 3 to 4 centimeter, and it is anterior to the vaginal wall. So in front of the vaginal wall. So if you see here, this is the vaginal opening, and this is the urethral opening. So anterior to the vaginal opening, it is present. Normally, some females, the shorter females will have a shorter urethra. So when they have a shorter urethra, there is more chance of getting infection compared to a longer urethra. So it depends on the height of the patient. Okay, so this is about the female reproductive system. We will just see little bit about the male reproductive system for our knowledge. Okay, so it is not in the course content, but I'll just teach you a little bit so that you understand clearly you want to know the difference between male and female reproductive system. So that's why I'm just teaching you about the male reproductive system also. So like female reproductive system, males also have a female reproductive system. So that consists of scrotum, testis, then spermatic cord, seminal vesicles, ejaculating duct, prostate gland, bulbar gland, and penis. Okay, so I didn't have picture. So this scrotum, if you see, this is the pouch-like structure. You can just compare this scrotum with the uterus of a female. So uterus of the female is inside the pelvic cavity, but the scrotum is like a uterus. It is like a pouch, but it will be hanging outside the body. So why it is hanging outside the body means it needs to have little lesser body temperature. So normally the males will have a higher metabolic rate, so their body temperature will be high. So this scrotum, if it wants to undergo the hormonal changes, it needs to be little bit cooler. So that's why it is present outside the body, so that the body's temperature will not affect its production. Okay, then you have above the scrotum, you will have testis. This testis is same like our female ovaries. Like how ovaries will be producing the eggs, this testis will be producing the sperm. So this can be compared with the ovaries of a female. So this testis is just present above the scrotum, and under the influence of male reproductive hormones. So like how female reproductive hormones, the males will be having a hormone like hormonal cycle. So under the influence of the male reproductive hormone, that is nothing but testosterone, this testis will be producing the spermatozoa. So this is not like in females, they have limited follicles, and the follicles only will undergo changes. But here, this testosterone will be producing the sperm continuously from the birth till the death of a male. So that's why they have a longer fertility period. So under the influence of the testosterone and along with other follicular stimulating hormone and pituitary hormone, this testosterone will help the testis to produce the spermatozoa. After it is producing the spermatozoa, it will be transported or pushed into a card-like structure that is called as spermatic card. So that is compared along with the follicular tubes of a female. So this card-like structure is like a passage. So it will be carrying the sperm to the ejaculatory duct. Is that clear? So from the testis, the spermatozoa will be spilled out into the spermatic card. So this is a tubular like a structure, a small card like tube like structure, which will be carrying the sperm to the ejaculatory duct. Okay, so again, ejaculatory duct is also a muscular pouch kind of thing, which will be storing the spermatozoa along with some other fluids. Good morning, ma'am. Ah, yes, ma'am. Ah, yes, ma'am. Okay, ma'am. Oh, okay, 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 ma'am. Oh, okay. Oh, okay, ma'am. Oh, okay, okay. Yes, ma'am. But the problem is, yes, ma'am. Oh, okay. We don't know that, ma'am. Oh, okay, okay. Oh, okay. Yes. Okay, so I think better we go for another person, right? Okay, okay. I'm sorry, I got from a call from FOM Dean, so I have to cut the class. Okay, so like if you see this ejaculatory duct will be collecting all the sperms, and it will be mixing with the seminal fluids from the urethra. Okay, then seminal fluids. This seminal fluids are from this prostate gland, bulbourethral gland, and the other glands. So you have three glands here. The seminal vesicles will also secrete some kind of fluids. That fluids only is called a seminal fluid, and this seminal fluid is mixed with the prostate gland fluids and the bulbourethral gland fluids. So this all three fluids are just to give the motility or give a lubrication to the sperms to float it. because sperm as such doesn't have any um, motility, like movement things. But in the other case, if you see, the egg will be able to move by its own, but the sperm will not be able to move by its own. That's why it is supplied by a fluid, or it is like a river. Okay, so like a liver, the fluid will be from this three glands, and the sperm will be floating on it, and it will be reaching the penis. So the penis is same like the urethra in the female. This has two functions. In female, there is a different one. The urethra will be used only to excrete the urine. But in male, it is done for two purposes. One is to pass the urine, and other one is to pass the semen also. So it has two functions. Okay, so it is like a tubular structure which will be hanging outside of the body, and through the tubular structure the sperm also will come, and the urine also will come. But it doesn't mean that every time the sperm will be coming out through the urine, not like that. Normally when the male gets excited, the penis will get stiffened. Okay, so once the penis is getting stiffened, this ejaculatory duct will ejaculate the sperm. Until then it will be storing the sperms in the ejaculatory duct. Okay, so either it is two ways. If the ejaculatory duct is too much full, then the male will automatically get excited or stimulated, then it will become harder, then it will be the semen will be ejaculated through the penis. Otherwise, whenever they get the sexual excitement, the penis will get stiffened, then the ejaculatory duct will be splitting out the sperm, and the sperm will be passing through the penis, and it will be reaching the vagina or like outside. Okay, so this is the normal reproductive system of both male and female. So even though like both have different structures, but it just according to the body need, the shape is changed, but the function will be remaining same for both. Okay, so any doubt?
No doubt, Miss.
So So if you want, you can have a break for 5 minutes, then we will go to the next topic. Okay. See, like sometimes women's health will be like a little bit of uh, boring theory. Okay, so I usually take it like I don't want to go slide by slide. If I go slide by slide, it'll be more boring. Okay, so I just want to tell you what, because this women's health is completely what happens in a women's body. Okay, so I just want to tell you like a story, or like in that flow. I don't want to go slide by slide. Okay, so I will tell you the complete slide only. I'll be just summarizing and talking in the class. So you go through the slide, and if you have any doubts, or if you feel that the flow is not like incomplete and you don't understand, you discuss in the we can discuss in the next class. Is that clear? If I go slide by slide, it will be sometimes it will be so much repeating, because we need to talk about the same four or five organs, same four or five hormones and its effects. So that's why I just want to go like summarizing flow. Not I don't want to go slide by slide. If your class is not okay with that, you please tell me. I can also teach you slide by slide. Is that clear?
Yes,
So
Miss.
after this physiology and anatomy and physiology, now we will see what is pregnancy. Okay, and before seeing what is pregnancy, we will see there will be a slower change in a girl, like in a female's body and life. So we will see what are the changes, then we will see what is pregnancy and how it is happening in today's class. Then tomorrow, next class, we will see what are the physiological changes that is happening because of this pregnancy and how as a PT we can help them. So first, if you see, as I said, when the girl is born, when a girl child is born, she will be having all the reproductive organs, but all the reproductive organs will be present as a immature thing. That means like there won't be any hormonal mediated things happening in those reproductive organs, but still there will be all the sequence will be present, but it will not be in an active stage, it will be like an inactive stage. Okay, so in a like female's life, you can divide them as a childhood, which will be till 12 years or 13 years. So 0 to 12 years or 13 years, we call it as childhood age of a girl. So during the childhood age, there will be this reproductive system will undergo a drastic development, but there won't be any maturity. Okay, so there will be a drastic development in the size, in the shape, and other things. So it is not going to happen just in a single day, but it is just going to happen in like a sequence. So from the birth, there will be slow changes in her body. Okay, so not only in female, in male also the same thing happens. But only thing is, there is obvious changes that outside world will be seeing in a girl compared to a boy. So that's why we don't celebrate, or we don't give much importance for the growth of a boy. Okay, but both of them, if you see from 0 to 12 to 13 years, it is called as childhood, and both of them will have their own reproductive system, which will be undergoing a development. Okay, then only one difference is, in the girl's reproductive system, there will be immature follicles present inside, but in boys one, there won't be any sperm present inside. So that is the only difference, but remaining everything will be same. And throughout the years, they will be undergoing slow changes, like the hair growth in the pubic region, in the armpit region, like that. Both male and female also will have the changes, and there is changes in the growth of the breast development, and there is changes in the genitalial parts, like that. The changes will be there slowly from the birth till 12 or 13 years. After 12 or 13 years, we call them as an adolescent age. So from 12 to 13 years till uh, 21 years, we call it as adolescent age. Or sometimes like till 18 years, we call it as adolescent age. Okay, so the age duration differs from country to country. Okay, so some countries will have adolescent age till 21, some countries will have till 18. So that's why I said like 18 to 21 will be like adolescent age. So during this stage, both the male and female reproductive system will undergo maturity. Okay, that means getting ready for the reproductive age, or getting ready for the reproduction. So at the end of the maturity, the in a girl's body, we call it as like puberty, or the at the end of the as the reproductive organs everything matures, the hormonal influence also will increase, and the whole system will start to function. So when the whole system start to function, we call it as puberty. And like not only girl, even a boy also have this puberty. But may not be like, even the boy himself will not know what is puberty, but most of the time both will be having definitely both will be having this puberty. So this puberty is called as onset of menstruation, or you can say maturity. So when all the organs are ready for the reproduction, then this will happen. So the first onset of the menstruation, because in a girl's life it is like a cycle, and especially it is like a monthly cycle, but in a boy's life it is a lifelong cycle. So in a boy's life, when once he attains the puberty, everything will just start, and it will end only at his death. But in a girl's life it will be like a monthly cycle. So the first cycle is called as monarchy. And most of the time, few of the menstrual cycle after the monarchy will be aovulatory. Aovulatory means without ovulation or without egg formation. So that's why the government has kept a minimal age for a female's marriage. Okay, so they cannot marry immediately after the puberty, because there will be aovulatory cycle. So during that aovulatory cycle, she needs to protect the uterus well. If not, like if they start their sexual activity and other thing during this time, they may have a problem at the later times. So that's why this adolescent period is very, very important one, both for male and female. Okay, so for male also it happens, but the damage will not be seen much. But for female, the damage will be seen. So I'm not talking about virginity and other things. I'm talking about something physiological. Okay, so once there is a damage happening, that will affect the uterus and the further reproductive things in the girl's life. Okay, so it is not something like the like virginity or something like that. So that's all, like a world has given a different name. But as a like medical person, you need to see what is happening physiologically in a girl's life. So that's why the adolescent life is very, very important for both male and female. Okay, then then after this puberty, it goes on like a cycle monthly cycle. And after a certain time, this monthly cycle will end. Why does it ends? Because there is lack of follicles. So in the ovary already there will be follicles, and every month some amount of the follicles will undergo changes. Some will get wasted, some will become an egg, some egg will become a baby, some most of the eggs will not become a baby. So slowly all these changes will happen. At one point there won't be any more follicles in the ovary. When there is no more follicles in the ovary, slowly that will be giving a feedback to the hormones, and that will uh, ask the hormones to stop the cycle. Okay, slowly the cycle will stop. So this doesn't happens in just in a one day. Again, it happens in a sequence. So initially the female will have a irregular menstrual cycle. Like after 45 or 50 years, they will be having a slow irregularity. So they will not get their menstrual flow every month. Instead, they will be getting every 3 months or 4 months. Then slowly the gap will increase. At one fine time, it will totally stop. So that stoppage is called as menopause. So the stoppage means it is not a single day, it is a period. So that is called as menopausal period. The last cycle is called as climacteric, or you can say like the first cycle is called as monarchy and the last cycle is called as climacteric. So this all just happens because of the hormonal influence, and all this hormonal influence will begin from the childhood, and it will be there till the death. But it will be reducing, or it will be in a very minimal time after the menopause. Okay, so this four in a female, these four there are four cycles. One is hypothalamus, that is the main center that is controlling all the hormones, especially female hormones. So this hypothalamus will be controlling through the pituitary gland. So this pituitary gland will be controlling certain hormones. Okay, that hormones will be influencing ovaries, and that ovaries will influence the uterus. Okay, so the hypothalamus will control the pituitary gland. The pituitary gland will secrete certain hormones. That hormones will be affecting the ovaries, and the ovaries also will produce certain hormones that will be controlling the uterus. So it all just goes hand in hand. So we will see this in detail. So first is your pituitary control. So the hypothalamus will be producing the gonadotropin releasing hormone. This gonadotropin releasing hormone is called as GnRH. This hormone will be stimulating the pituitary gland, especially anterior pituitary gland, to excrete two hormones. One is called as FSH, another one is one called as luteinizing hormone. FSH is called as follicle stimulating hormone. LH is called as luteinizing hormone. Okay, so this will act with a positive and negative feedback. That means whenever FSH is increasing, this LH will suppress. Then FSH will reach a moment. At that time, automatically LS will start to increase. So this will be acting in an opposite way. When there is FSH more, the LH will be less. When there is more of LH, the FSH will be less. So this will be getting the feedback from the ovaries, and it will be act accordingly. Okay. So now we will see how it starts. So first, like as we know already, this ovaries will be having some primordial follicles, maybe some 200,000 or 300,000, depends on the female. They will be having these follicles at the birth itself. So these follicles are called as primordial follicles, which has not undergone any maturity. Okay. Then after puberty, these follicles will start undergoing maturity. How this under maturity means under the influence of follicular stimulating hormone. So follicular stimulating hormone will be stimulating the ovaries, and it will be stimulating the Graafian follicles in the ovaries that will undergo maturation. So when that is undergoing maturation, slowly the ovaries will swell up little bit and it become tensed. Okay, so you can see here. So this is the ovary. Okay, so this is the ovarian cycle which happens. So you can see here, this is the primordial follicle. You can see very small. This is the primordial follicles, which is very, very small. So this primordial follicles, under the influence of follicular stimulating hormone, will slowly undergo maturation. So you can see the stages here. So slowly it will become bigger, bigger, bigger. Okay, so this are the maturing follicle. So each has different names, and each has different stages. So this is the fully matured follicle. So this fully matured follicle, you can see here, this is a fully matured follicle. It will be having a fluids inside here. Okay, so this is called as follicular fluid, and inside one particular ova, you can see inside this one particular follicle, you can see something called ova. So this is the ova. Is that clear? So when the under the influence of FSH, this small follicle will undergo full maturation like this. So when it is undergoing full maturation, it will have a ova inside. Is that clear? Okay, this ova only will be ejaculated later on. Okay, so will be ejaculated. So it is not this complete one coming out, only the small one will be coming out. Okay, so this small one will be coming out. You can see here. The ova will be getting ejaculated, and the remaining is called as theca, or it is called as corpus luteum. So here you can see the without the ova, the remaining one is called as corpus luteum. Slowly this corpus luteum will undergo disintegration, and it will just disappear. Okay, so you can see here it is undergoing from the primordial. it is undergoing maturation. Then the ova is becoming mature and it becomes very tense. At one point, it is just spilt out. Can you see here? At one point, it is just spilt out. And this spilt out is moving to the end of the ovary and it will be captured by the fimbrioles here. Okay, so this remaining is called as carpus luteum without the ova. Then this carpus luteum will undergo disintegration and it is called as carpus albicans. Okay. So this is a follicle cycle, and this follicle cycle will be because of the FSH hormone. So because of the influence of FSH hormone only, this will happen. So till this time, till this ova is becoming full matured, you will be having FSH hormone, more of FSH hormone. When once this ova is getting tensed, it will try to come out. Once it is trying to come out, the ovaries will give a negative feedback and the luteinizing hormone will be secreted. Is that clear? So the ovaries will give a negative feedback to the pituitary gland. So the luteinizing hormone will be secreted. Once the luteinizing hormone is secreted, that will help the ova to come out and pass through the fimbrioles. So that is called as ovulation. Is that clear? Okay. Then, so during the ovulation, this carpus luteum will be producing certain hormones that is called as estrogen and progesterone. Okay, so this carpus luteum will be producing that hormone. So once the ovulation happens, slowly the progesterone effect will become higher and higher. So that will suppress the luteinizing hormone also. Okay, and the ovarian cycle will begin. So initially it will be like pituitary cycle, then slowly the ovarian cycle will start. So first FSH will be secreted, then it will help for the follicle to undergo full maturation. Once the follicle is undergoing full maturation and about to burst out, that the ovary will give a negative feedback and the LH hormone will be secreted. So once the LH hormone is secreted, that will help the ova to spill out and it will reach the fallopian tube. Once the ova is spilled out and reach the fallopian tube, the remaining is called as carpus luteum. This carpus luteum will be secreting a hormone called progesterone. So once the progesterone is taking up the role, that will give a negative feedback to the pituitary gland to stop the LH also. Okay, so at that time, this ovarian cycle will take up. So remaining 14 days will be taken up by the ovarian cycle. So initial 14 days will be taken up by the pituitary cycle. The remaining 14 days will be taken up by the ovarian cycle. Is that clear? So that is the function of, the function of follicular stimulating hormone is to undergo the maturation and it will be higher in the first half of the cycle. The later half of the cycle, the FSHs will slowly reduce and this luteinizing hormone will increase. And at one time, once the corpus luteum is secreting progesterone, it will inhibit the rise of FSH and LH. Then the progesterone will take up the role. So once the progesterone will be peaking up till the ovum is meeting a sperm and getting like the zygote is formed. Once the zygote is formed, it will be suppressing the progesterone hormone and the other hormone like estrogen hormone will rise. Is that clear? So once the estrogen, if there is no pregnancy formed, this corpus luteum will become totally disintegrated or degenerated. So the production of estrogen and progesterone will be suppressed. So once the production of estrogen and progesterone is suppressed, automatically the pituitary gland will take up the function and it will start the new cycle. Is that clear? So first LHS will act, then FSH will act, then LH will act, then the estrogen will act. Then once there is no pregnancy formed, then the progesterone will start. Then the progesterone will lead to menstrual flow or contraction of uterus. So all the endometrial layer will just spread out through the menstruation. Once the menstruation is about to stop, the FSH will start again. So this is the cycle that will be happening every 28 to 30 days. Is that clear? Okay. So if the pregnancy is there, if the pregnancy is present, then this estrogen will not be suppressed. It will be maintaining in a peak of level. So the estrogen hormone only will be like that will be maintained in the peak of level, and that will be there throughout the pregnancy, and little bit lesser of progesterone will be there, and this FSH and LH will not work during that time. If there is no pregnancy, then it will be start to work. If there is pregnancy, this will not work. Okay. So if the cycle has not begin and if there is pregnancy, then there is another hormone called prolactin. So that will be again stimulated by the anterior pituitary gland. So if it is not stimulating FSH, then it will stimulate this prolactin hormone. This prolactin hormone will be stimulating the breast for the growth of the breast and maturity of the breast. So the breast will get ready for the feeding from the day one or first week of pregnancy. So until 9 months, the pregnancy, the breast will be getting matured or developed, and it will be getting ready for the breastfeeding, and that is by the prolactin hormone. Okay. So now we will see the individual function of each hormone. First is FSH. FSH. This main function is secondary sexual characters like female shape, growth of the breast, uterus, and the female distribution of hair. All those things is the actual function of this estrogen. So you have to function. The FSH function is to stimulate the follicles alone. That is a function, and LH function is to uh, undergo the ovulation. Okay, then the estrogen function is along with maintenance of the pregnancy. Along with that, it will also be responsible for secondary sexual characters like the shape of the female. So on seeing the physical appearance itself, we can say whether it is male or female. So that is done by this estrogen hormone. Then growth of the breast, then growth of the hair. Then not only that, it stimulates the production of cervix to secrete a lubricating fluid. So this will be present in the cervix as well as in the vagina. So during the intercourse, this will help for a smooth lubrication, and it will help for the smooth moving of the sperm. So, and not only that, this will be more of like it will prevent the infection. So if there is a more of cervical mucus production, then they will be more stronger. They will be able to reduce the infection rate. The next is progesterone. So this progesterone is again produced by the corpus luteum under the influence of LH. So this main function is secretory changes. Secretory changes means like to shed out the uterus lining and other unwanted thing. So first, slowly this estrogen will be making the endometrium to become bigger and bigger and make it as a spongy thing. So once there is no pregnancy happening, then the spongy material has to come out. So the prostrogen's work is to remove all this spongy lining, that is endometrial lining, to secrete outside. So that is called as menstruation. Okay, so not only that, so during that menstruation, that will be there for 3 or 4 days, and during that time there will be slight increase in the body temperature, and there is slight changes in the breast and other thing. So the female will feel as if she is hotter, and she'll feel as if her body has become little bloated. Then there is another hormone called relaxin. This is also like your prolactin. If there a pregnancy is there, if there is no FSH, then this relaxin and prolactin will be produced by the body. One will the prolactin is produced by the pituitary gland, and this relaxin is produced by the corpus luteum. So this again, the function of this relaxing hormone is to relax the collagens. So this will relax the collagen fibers in the ligaments and in the body. So the smooth muscles will undergo further relaxation, and the ligaments, all everything will undergo further relaxation. Okay. So these all things only I told you in the beginning. So there will be two cycles. That is like one is uterine cycle and the one is ovarian cycle. The uterine cycle is the monthly cycles, 28 days to 30 days. So in that cycle is divided into three phases. One is menstrual phase, proliferating phase, and secretory phase. Menstrual phase is the phase in which the endometrial lining will be coming out the first 3 days. Then after that, slowly FSH will start to work. Once the FSH will start to work, there will be that is called as proliferating phase. Okay. Then again at the end also, sorry. The menstrual phase is the terminal phase. Then proliferating phase is from the menstrual cycle to the ovulation. Then the secretory phase from the ovulation to the again at the till the end. Okay, so this complete cycle is controlled by FSH and LH. So that cycle is called uterine cycle. Okay, so this is completely controlled by FSH and LH. So that is about the hormones. So do you have any doubt?
No doubt for me, Miss.
Okay, can we continue?
Yes, Miss.
So next we will see what is fertilization. Fertilization is nothing but pregnancy. So we know following the ovulation, the ova will be passing into the fallopian tube, and because of the muscular contraction, peristaltic movement. Peristaltic movement is nothing but like the movement that will be happening in the stomach, same like that. So because of that movement, the ova will be just moving in the fallopian tube, and it will be reaching the ampulla. Okay. So during this time, at this time, if you see the cervix under the influence of estrogen, it will be secreting a different kind of fluid. So as I said, cervix will be giving a will be secreting a lot of mucus fluid. During this time, like after the ovulation, for maybe for 3 to 4 days, there will be a different kind of secretion that will be present in the cervix. Okay, so this different kind of secretion will try to attract the sperm, or in other words, if you see the female body will undergo a different feeling as if they want to have a sexual activity. Okay, so this is like this is because of the hormonal influence. So this is what even will happen in all the animals and other things. So during this time, there will be different mucus, and this mucus will have a different smell. So in the animal in animals, this different smells will attract their male partner, and they will try to have intercourse and they will get pregnant. But in human being, as we are in a different like maybe we use a different body orders and other things, this smell is suppressed, but still the female will have an instinct of having a intercourse. So once they have an intercourse during this time, the sperm will be able to move inside the vagina and move inside the cervix very easily. And in other words, we can say only during this 3 or 4 days the cervix will be open, the internal orifice of the cervix will be open. Otherwise, the internal orifice will not be open at all. So when they do intercourse during this time, there will be more chance, there will be chance of fertilization. Otherwise, there is no chance of fertilization. Is that clear? So during this time, some millions and like when there is ejaculation, so it is not that few of the sperms will be ejaculated. It will be like millions and millions of sperms will be ejaculated. So this millions and millions of sperms will help, like will be floating along with the lubricant inside the cervix. And the cervix also will give more lubricant so that it is able to move inside the uterus. So once it is moving inside the uterus, on the pathway, many of the sperm will be dying. Okay, and when the remaining sperm will give the energy for the for few of the sperm to move away. That means millions of sperm will enter inside, then slowly many of the sperm will die. When once they die, they give the energy to the dominant sperm to move forward. So once it is moving forward, it will reach the fundus of the uterus, then it will go into the ampulla. So in the ampulla, when it is meeting the ovum, the remaining, the like lot of sperms are there, right? They will be excreting a particular enzyme. Okay, so that enzyme will help the sperm to penetrate into the ova and reach the egg. Is it clear? So once it is reaching the egg, then it will get fused together. Then it is called as zygote formation. So this zygote will remain in the fallopian tube for a few days. After that, this zygote will be moving into the fallopian tube and it will be reaching the uterus. Then once it is reaching the uterus, it will get embedded in the uterus, because by the time the endometrium will be fully formed with a huge, good spongy kind of thing. So it will get embedded in the uterus. So after it is getting embedded in the uterus, then only it will undergo rapid cell division. Once it undergoes rapid cell division, it is called as fetus. Till that, it is called as zygote. Okay, so once this all forms, then there is once the conception forms, immediately that information will be going to corpus luteum to getting degenerate. So once it is getting degenerate, then another hormone called HCG will be secreted. This HCG is will be helping for the growth of the fetus. So this HCG only is an indicator to confirm the pregnancy test. So normally when they do with the urinary test. So when they do it in the urine, they will be detecting the presence of HCG. If there is a presence of HCG, then the pregnancy is confirmed. Okay, so in a woman's life, this HCG will not be secreted in any of the other time unless and until she is pregnant. So that's why it is used as a indicator. So afterwards, so slowly after after it is getting embedded, then slowly it will undergo maturation, another. Then slowly the fetal will grow bigger and bigger. So every week there will be some changes in the fetus. So it will take 40 weeks for the fetus to become fully matured. Okay, so after 28 weeks, the after 28 weeks, there is within 28 weeks, the fetus will undergo all the development and other thing. Okay, after 28 weeks, then there will be maturation of there will be the development will stop and the maturation will start. So once the maturation will start, then even if the baby is born after 28 weeks, it will be able to survey outside. But the full term means it is 40 weeks. Okay, so this is the summary of the growth of the fetus. Okay, so now we will see how to find out the pregnancy calculator. So we have to, like it is normally 40 weeks is called as a full term. So from the last date of menstrual LMP means last menstrual period. So from the first day of last menstrual period, you have to add 1 year, then subtract 3 months, then add 7 days. So this is called as Nagulus rule. So that means like you have two ways to calculate this. So one is in case if the women had like 8th January is the women's first day of menstrual flow. From that add 7 days. That is 15 January. So from that add 9 months. Then that is your date of expected date of delivery. EDD means expected date of delivery. Okay, so this is one way of calculating. So from the first day of last menstrual period, add 7 days, then add 9 months. Then that is EDD. Okay. Then other method is from the last first day of last menstrual flow, add 1 year. Okay, that means if 8th January means add 1 year. That means 8th January next year. From that minus 3 months. Then add uh, minus 3 months and add 7 days. So both are same. It is not like a different. Uh, so you don't need to get confused. You can just follow any method. So whichever is easy, either this Naggles rule or this one, anything you can follow. But anyways, we as a PT, we don't have much role in this. Okay, so this is a brief summary of fetus. So I think I'll stop here because next topic is fetal circulation. If I teach you now, you may not understand because when a lot of things are there in the brain, it will not take up new information. So I will stop here because this is an important topic. So I'll stop here and I'll take it freshly. So if you have any doubt, then you WhatsApp me. Okay, so I will upload everything today evening. Is that clear? So if no other questions, then we can wind up the session. Thank you all.
Thank you, Miss.